Time to go fast. Event 4, it's the Sprint Couplet here on day number 2 of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you for being with us today, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram, Annie Sakamoto, and Dan Bailey. It's a packed house here for this 4th individual event. Once again, it's out at the North Park. There are only 2 movements. We're down to 40 athletes for the men, 40 athletes for the women. The men are going to kick things off. We have a 90-pound sled, and we have a pull-up bar. These are the overall standings coming into the event. Matt Fraser, still your overall leader. James Newberry has moved himself into second. Jacob Hepner is moving up, as is Travis Mayer and Patrick Velder, but nobody moved farther than Chandler Smith. He goes from 18th, he is now in 6th place overall. Sprint Couplet is event number 4, and before we came on, we were talking about strategy, and Dan, you said, just look, man, turn off your brain and embrace the pain and go fast.
That's 100% the strategy here. There's not much else other than that. The athletes are going to be up on that sled with just a ton of excitement, a ton of adrenaline. It's going to be hard actually to shut it off, I think, in this scenario with that many guys, that many girls out on the field, with the crowd watching you. This is going to be one that also has a lot of close finishes.
90 pounds on that sled. They have to push it 172 feet to the rig. That's where the bar muscle ups the weight, and then it's 172 feet back. And after this event, we're cutting down to 30 athletes. So 20 men on the field here in heat number 1. You guys have pushed a lot of sleds in your career. What's the worst part about doing this?
Doing it. Honestly, I mean, for whatever reason, sleds just crush me. Aerobically, my legs, everything. So this will be really interesting because
why do you think it's so bad?
What?
Why do you think it's so bad?
Because it is that intensity level, right? It's because you can push it so fast. It's like doing an assault bike or something like that where, 20 seconds, if you really go all out, it's the death of you.
Cutting down to 30 athletes after this event. So the men in this heat, some of them, half of them, are on the wrong side of that cut line. So you're going to maybe see some pretty frantic efforts here as we get set for event number 1, or number 4, pardon me, heat number 1 of the Sprint Couplet.
Again,
stand by.
We're underway, 172 feet on that 90-pound sled, and it's an all-out sprint.
and the key when you're getting to these bar muscle ups, again, you're going fast, you're going to be frantic. Make sure you get your reps, lock your elbows out at the top, do everything the judges ask you to do.
They're going to get a credit for a rep for every line they pass with that sled. And now it's on to the bar muscle ups, 18 reps, and then it's 172 feet back. Ryan Souter and Matt McLeod, Lucas Eschlinger, and Connor Duddy up there in that fight, now through 9 of the scored repetitions.
For a lot of these guys, it almost looks like their rest right there for Willie George. It almost looked like this was his break from the sled.
See if anybody comes down to break here. You got to think if you're going to win this event or even have a chance of finishing inside the top 10, you cannot drop off of that pull-up bar. Willie George in the middle of your screen, a guy who did pretty well in a pull-up bar last year. In fact, outdueled Matt Fraser in one of the bi-couplet events, and now the first athletes are off on the sprint sled. Ant Haynes is one of them. He is your leader, and Ant Haynes is in and across the finish line, but it's Matt McLeod who wins the event at 127.30. Will Morad takes second. Connor Duddy is third. Ant Haynes finishes. Panchik is across. Saxon Panchik, not Scott. Scott will be in the next heat. So it's a mad dash here across the finish line. So recap, it's McLeod with the win. Morad takes second in this heat. Connor Duddy, Saxon Panchik. And then in fifth place, it is Ant Haynes. So that one went fast.
I think I closed my mouth the entire time, but I didn't even say any words.
Yeah, it seems like the 6-minute time cap might have been a little excessive, huh?
Definitely not necessary. That looks like Yonakoski coming across the finish line. And he will be the last man in. So Matt McLeod takes heat 1, 1:27.30, and they were not lying when they said that this was a sprint.
This is kind of one of those things, you know, we said the sled push like the assault bike, but the speed that McLeod had at the end,
Right.
it was amazing. You know, it's like, okay, that's how you push the sled, but then you saw what Yonakoski, what that sled did to him at the end, so it's very deceptive of how tough that is on the second half of this event.
It was interesting to see. I was surprised some guys stopping on their second sled push back. I didn't expect to see that.
Matt McLeod, Will Morad, and Connor Duddy, your top 3 from heat number 1. We will reset, and we will have the second and final heat for the men. Again, it's 90 pounds on that sled, 172 feet down, 18 bar muscle ups, 172 feet back.
This is one of those events or one of those movements that you regret going second.
Because you understand how bad it's going to be. Matt McLeod takes the heat, hoping that his time will last.
It's a great heat win, Matt. What was going through your mind when you first heard about this event that was announced basically just before you had to do it?
I was a little worried about the sled. I thought it'd be a bit harder to push, a bit heavier, but it was a nice surprise.
No, definitely. Now, moving ahead, we have still many events to come here. Anything in particular you're hoping to come down the pipeline?
I wouldn't mind some handstand push-ups. Yeah.
And how has it been so far, just having this sort of air of mystery around the events of the games?
It's been pretty hectic, actually.
Well, how do you prepare for that type of a situation when you don't know what's coming?
I don't think you do.
Well, clearly, if you don't, it still works out for you. Great job so far.
Thank you.
Answering questions while out of breath should be an event at the CrossFit Games.
Well, and sleds are always one of those things that they don't hit you until about 15 seconds till you're done.
So Matt McLeod at 127.30, the only man to go sub 130 on this event. Will Morad will take second. It's Connor Duddy in third. Saxon Panchik and Ant Haynes rounding out the top 5. And just look how close it is between 4th and 10th. They're just 5 seconds separating those spots. I mean, those are precious points now, especially as we start to get down to 30 athletes, because another cut is coming after this event. Heat 1 is in the books. We have another heat coming up. The overall leaders will be on the field, and Matt Fraser will look to keep his overall lead and hold off a charging James Newberry, who now sits in second place overall for the men.
And what a great event juxtaposed to the earlier event today, right? That was just slow and treacherous and kind of heavy. And now we're just fast and furious.
And this is part of the, you know, the weaving of the events, the blending of the modalities is, you know, the tests that we had yesterday were classic CrossFit events and hitting every modality that we could. Super long this morning. And then now we hit this sprint event. Is that everything's starting to fall into place for the one beautiful just scene as we move throughout the weekend.
Waiting for the men in the second and final heat here of event number 4, the Sprint Couplet, to take the field. And Matt McLeod just exited the field. He is the owner right now of the fastest time at 1 minute 27.30 seconds. And again, after this event, we have another cut coming as we move from 40 athletes down to 30. And that's now when things start to get really serious as we head into the later part of today. We still have a bit inside the Coliseum, and then as we move on to the weekend as well. What do you think these guys, especially the guys who are sitting on the cut line, are thinking right now as they head out here onto the field?
I'm thinking if I finished that event and I was on the cut line, I would slowly limp my way to the next heat and be like, it's so bad. It's so bad. Don't try it that hard. It was a horrible mistake. Just go really slow.
Pace it, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this is such a perfect event for those that are on the line because you just have to put the pedal to the metal and go for it. Go for broke.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, a much different challenge than we saw earlier today in that long, grueling ruck run, and now we have the short and fast sprint. It's the fourth event of the individual competition here at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games as action continues in the North Park at the Alliant Energy Center. It's the Sprint Couplet, a sled push, and some bar muscle ups. And if you blink, you might miss this one. Did we learn anything new from that first heat?
It's really fast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all the guys went unbroken on the bar muscle ups, right? That's now the standard as the next heat comes out on the field. If you see anybody drop, you can almost guarantee that they are not going to be not going to finish well in this event.
And this is where the point standings are at the moment. Matt Fraser with the overall lead at 290 out of a possible 300 points right now. James Newberry continues an impressive start. He is now in second place, followed by Jacob Hefner, Travis Mayer, and there comes Patrick Vellner, who has been working his way up the leaderboard, and Brent Fikowski cracks the top 10, courtesy of his last event finish. 172 feet down with 90 pounds, and 18 bar muscle ups, and then you do it all over again to the finish line.
I think to Ben's point is that what the first heat did, like, oh, is anyone gonna break? No. Okay, is anyone going to slow down the sled? Also no. And so when you're sitting there in the next set of 20, it's like that sometimes just dramatically changes the mindset completely. Like, okay, how do I maybe pace the first half so I can go unbroken to race the next? It's like, nobody did that in heat number 1, and you're not going to have a chance to do that in heat number 2. So sometimes that dramatically shifts your mindset going in to a level that makes it a bit uneasy.
Right now, the 20 men who are taking the field are all on the right side of the next cut line. However, seconds make a huge difference.
Yep.
We saw 5 seconds separate, 6 places on the overall leaderboard? 10 seconds, you might find yourself quickly on the wrong side of the cut line here. So all these men cannot take the fact that they are safe for granted at this 5 minutes. Overall leader Matt Fraser with the white jersey on. Next to him, no shirt, that's James Newberry out of Australia, who currently sits in second place overall. Travis Mayer is next to him, and then Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson after that.
Arguably, we constantly talk about what's the most grueling physical test of the CrossFit Games over the years. I'm honestly going to have to admit that this one might be the most mentally grueling one, having to do with that cut line, your loss of points if you finish low, all the different competitors, all those different factors kind of playing in, and now we're going to throw you out a 2-minute event right in front of a cut.
And it's that thing where you, like you said, mentally, okay, if I drop off the bar, I'm losing points. Now, if I drop off the bar, I might not stay in the competition.
Might not continue.
You're done, 10 seconds. Grab your keys and head for the door.
Pat Vellner is inside the top 10, and he's hoping to continue his climb up the leaderboard. Heat 2 of the sprint couplet is underway. Saw a couple guys get off to a rough start. One of them, Matt Fraser, he is in the back, in the middle of the field right now, but he's quickly making up ground. Time to beat 1:27.30 seconds.
And I want to say at the very bottom that might have been Brent Fikowski first, or Samuel Kwon is first to the rig, and what he did was he used that sled push technique that Neil Maddox used in 2014, where he was crouched up to the sled and low, whereas everyone's doing that full extended position. I'm actually surprised that nobody remembered to do that. And Samuel Kwon just destroyed everybody on that first sled push.
So Noah Ohlsen right now is your leader. He's battling with Samuel Kwon, James Newberry a couple reps back, Gudmundsson and Hogberg in that lead pack as well. Cole Sager, he's on the left side of your screen, former football player. He's no stranger to pushing a sled around. Noah Ohlsen, as we take a look at Matt Fraser, who is inside 5 reps to go. Samuel Kwon is off, Fraser is off, and now the race. Kwon at the bottom of your screen. Noah Ohlsen, I think, is in the middle of the field. We'll have to get confirmation on that, though. 1:27 is the time to beat. Looks like it's going to go down. Samuel Kwon is gaining ground. And I don't know if that was fast enough to beat McLeod's time. It was not. So Noah Ohlsen is going to take second in the event. Now Matt Fraser's still on the field. James Newberry is right next to him, so Newberry's going to stay close to Fraser as Matt cannot get rid of the pesky Australian. Cole Sager, Adrian Moonweiler, Scott Panchik are all in. Now Fraser's across. Here comes
Chandler Smith.
Chandler Smith, Newberry is in, so just a frantic finish here, but Matt McLeod is going to win the event, and Noah Ohlsen, in his career, has not won an event at the CrossFit Games.
He's got a lot of seconds, though.
A lot of seconds, and that one's certainly going to help him.
Well, here's the craziest part is like, yes, look at Noah Ohlsen's time, but look at the times of your third and below when you're looking at the 145 mark, because we had guys, at least 7 athletes in the first heat that were faster than that time. So the first heat actually looked faster than the second one.
I agree.
100%.
And then also to your point, Chase, you see some of those guys, it looked like an empty sled, and they just pushed it entirely across without stopping, and a lot of these guys made it look a lot harder. They had to have multiple stops.
And there's the onset fatigue of a sled.
To me, that might have played in the factor that we were talking about leading in, is that the second heat goes, holy crap, that's so much faster than I thought we were going to go. Is that how fast we need to start?
Right.
And maybe everyone clipped off a little too much early on, thinking that that was the strategy going in after the first heat.
James Newberry is only going to surrender 4 points to that man, Matt Fraser. Let's get you updated on where some other people finished. Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson is going to take 19th in the event. Fraser, I'm going to correct myself. Fraser's actually going to pick up more than that. Fraser in this event is going to finish 20th. James Newberry is going to take 25th. Brent Fikowski's going to finish 27th in the event. Hepner's 29th. So a lot of names at the top of the leaderboard did not beat some of the guys in the prior heat. That's good news for some of those guys in that first heat who were trying to get on the right side of that cut line. But these are your top 3 in the overall standings. But Fraser got off to a rough start on that first push.
And that comes from inexperience of not really knowing your history of events like this. It's like the last thing you should have done is put your hands to the top of those handles and nosedive your sled.
Yep.
I mean, costly tenths of a second. I mean, 1 second here, 2 seconds there, and all of a sudden you're 10, 11 places down the leaderboard.
It was
When
Noah
the total
Ohlsen
time is 2 minutes,
on the pull-up bar. We know he's great at gymnastics, but he just still cannot chase down that first event win. He does take the heat. He's going to finish 2nd in the event, and that will most likely move him up the overall leaderboard. So Noah Ohlsen, 2nd place, and he will lock up 97 points.
Well, you're tired, but you're stoked. It is your first heat win at the CrossFit Games. What does that mean to you?
I actually don't think it was my first heat win, but I thought it might have been my first event win. It was close. It's been a good year so far. I'm enjoying this games more than any other, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. 2nd place in the event because we saw 1st place in the first heat. But, I mean, you're still in great spirits, and if this is such a great experience for you, what's making it special or different from your previous games appearances?
Yeah, I finally feel like a veteran this year, which is really cool. I think because there were so many new people that we got to meet this year, which was amazing. People from all over the world, so I'm just taking a step back and trying to enjoy it and still kick butt at the same time.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Love y'all.
Noah Ohlsen, 2nd place in events number 4, the Sprint Couplet. He's going to get 97 points, and that will help his cause as far as getting on the podium is concerned. It's Matt McLeod, an Australian. In his first career appearance at the CrossFit Games, he has more event wins than Noah Ohlsen now. So you can put that feather in his cap. Will Morad will take 3rd. Samuel Quant is 4th. Connor Duddy is 5th, and it's Cole Sager in 6th place. We're going to step aside. The women are up next. Their competition continues at 1:40 p.m. We'll be back for their Sprint Couplet here on the Rogue Iron Game at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games.